Just 8 years after he murdered James Bolger, Jon Venables was released on a life licence, which imposed strict conditions on what he could and couldn't do on the outside. He had to be of good conduct. He was forbidden from contacting the family of James Bolger and from going back to Merseyside without permission. Any infringement would immediately lead to him being locked up again. Albert Kirby wasn't optimistic.
I'd hoped that they were capable of being rehabilitated, but I never had the faith in the system where I believed that they could have achieved that by the time they were 18 years of age. And I shared the belief that they should have gone into prison as a warning to them that if ever they did break the conditions of their parole, that was where they were going to end up.
As Venables prepared for freedom, there were real concerns that he might be targeted in a revenge attack for James Bolger's murder. So he was given a secret new identity, which the media were expressly forbidden to reveal.
He had his own sort of network of probation officers, and he had to have this whole identity created for him with false documents, with a passport, GCSE certificates, a national insurance number, everything that created a background for him. And even to the extent of what was called a legacy lie, a story that he could tell people to make him convincing as in this false identity. And the pressure of that, I think, must be huge.
It must be really difficult to actually have a new identity. As an 18, 19-year-old, striking out on your own for the first time, also having that big secret hanging over you, I would imagine makes it more stressful.
To begin with, it all looked so promising and so rosy. He had a flat, he was able to find a job, he enrolled in college. He even had a girlfriend. All the reports are very positive. He's being monitored constantly, has a huge support from the probation service.
The court injunction protecting Jon Venables' identity severely restricts what can be reported about him since his release. But we have spoken in detail to one of his friends, who first met him in 2002, shortly after his release. We've used the voice of an actor to protect his identity.
Well, he was shy at first, obviously. I got on with him, like, basically straight away. Had similar interests, music, sport and that. Just hit it off from there, really. He was a nice lad, do you know what I mean? He was great to get on with, a good laugh, basically. I mean, no one spoke about a word of him.
For 5 years, Venables had weekly meetings with his probation officer and steered clear of any trouble.
He's being monitored on such a regular basis. Because it's going so well, they start to downgrade the supervision, and I think that he lost a lot of the support that he'd had.
By January 2006, his life seemed stable. He had a full-time job, he stopped seeing his psychiatrist, and his meetings with his probation officer were reduced to once every 3 weeks. Everything was going smoothly, but it was about to go downhill. He was rejected from a management training scheme and forced to end a relationship because his girlfriend had a child. In 2008, at the age of 26, he was again in trouble with the police.
He's arrested for a scuffle outside a nightclub, and in fact the charges are dropped, and then shortly after that he's arrested for possession of a small amount of cocaine. Later admits that he's been using cocaine quite regularly and also taking this drug this drug mephedrone.
His friends also witnessed his developing drug habit.
He started off with tablets, if I remember rightly, and then he'd be into poppers as well. And then weeks, months down the line, he was into cocaine and all that stuff. It was like an addiction in the end. Got it out, lined it up, taking it before and then after work. He'd go home, do another one before he went out on a night out. And I was like, why are you doing that? And he goes, basically, mate, it blocks out things sometimes I just don't want to think about.
Despite his monitoring, Venables was given permission to go abroad and chose to holiday with friends in Amsterdam.
I remember he went to Holland with some mates, It was more of the same as over here. Nightclub, drink, drugs, looking at girls. Over there it's a different country, different culture. I guess he just wanted to experience a different atmosphere with his mates. It's an experience you can remember all your life. I think he liked it.
All through that period that he was out, there was this constant fear of being discovered. He was afraid. He was afraid of being found out. He was afraid of, being the victim of some revenge attack.
After his arrest for fighting and the evidence of drug abuse, his supervision was stepped up again. He was told to meet his probation officer every week. He was also placed on a curfew and had to stay at home from 11 o'clock at night until 6:30 in the morning. But for Albert, this intervention came too late.
We know there was close supervision with him, which would perhaps help him in some way of feeling secure, because there was always someone there who he could turn to. Someone who could tell him, like his life inside, how to run his life. And instead of that supervision and contact slipping away and being eased off, that is the period when we know now that Jon Venables became vulnerable. His behaviour went out of control, and there wasn't the mechanism there, the system there, that he felt that he could go to and feel happy with. That cannot be acceptable.
Venables' spiral of decline continued. Though it was strictly forbidden under the terms of his licence, he started going back into Merseyside, close to the scene of James Bolger's murder.
He goes back to watch Everton matches and he goes to see concerts. If he'd been found out to be doing those things, he would have been recalled to prison immediately, and arguably he should have been recalled to prison.
But he wasn't, and after one late night drinking session with his friends, Venables finally cracked. Despite all the efforts to protect him from exposure, he started to reveal his true identity.
We went out, he was like himself, normal, talking about the obvious, football, music. Then roughly about 11:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, when he was more gone, he was like, "Got something to tell you." He said, "Do you remember that little kid in Liverpool that got killed in the train tracks?" So I was just like, "Yeah, why? What about it?" He said, "I've got something to confess, that was me." I said, "Behave yourself." And he just goes, "Yeah, all right." But for some reason that stuck in my mind. But 4 weeks later, having a drink, doing the same thing as normal, got to like 2, 3 in the morning, he said it to me again. So I just laughed it off again. Must have been some kind of release valve where he just had enough and he couldn't carry on, basically. 2 weeks later, I heard from other people saying he'd put him for references because he wanted to leave the job and work somewhere else. I went round his anyway and it was like completely empty. I was just like, where the hell's he gone? Like he just uplifted and disappeared somewhere.
He reports to his probation officer that his identity, he believes, has been disclosed. They call the police come around and find him hacking at a computer to get the hard drive out or to destroy the hard drive. They take the computer and they find on it all these quite grotesque images of child pornography.
Venables was found to have 102 indecent images of children on his computer, some depicting the rape of children as young as 2 years old. He was immediately recalled to prison and later convicted on pornography charges. He was jailed